So I'm here to speak to you about, so Tony discussed at the sale yards. I'm talking about the legal requirements to get to the sale yards. So a little bit about what I do in my role. So I'm referred to as a biosecurity officer, but most of you probably know me as your local stockie. I promise you I'm not that mean. Tony still talks to me, and the other agents do too, so I'm pretty kind. Just don't get on the wrong side of me. So what I cover is your general biosecurity obligation, so your GBO. So anyone who owns livestock has a GBO. So when I'm talking about GBO, it's ought to reasonably know. So as an example is that if you send an animal, let's say cattle, to the sale yards and it doesn't have a NILS tag, and you say to me, oh, I didn't know it needed to have a NILS tag, that doesn't buy with me. You ought to reasonably know if you're in the cattle industry, that animal is meant to have a NILS tag. So we can't use that as an excuse anymore. The next thing we talk about is registered biosecurity entity. So your RBE, so anyone who owns one cow, one horse, a goat, a sheep, a pig, need to be registered with the department. The reason we want you to be registered is if we have, let's say, the worst of the worst, foot and mouth disease hits Australia, we want to know where each and every single one of the livestock that can be affected by this disease are. And that's why we have you registered. So say if Tony owned a block next to me and he unfortunately got the disease, they could call me and say, Emily, don't move your livestock. We've got a disease in the area. So next is your integrity system. So that's like your NLIS, your movement records, your NVDs. That all comes with me as well. NLIS, if you're moving livestock off your property, they must be fitted with a suitable device. So that is for your cattle, your bison, buffalo, and coming in now is your sheep and goats. So come January 1st, all kids or lambs born on your property must be fitted with an NLIS device before leaving the property. Movement records, this is for all livestock, whether it's your horses, your cattle, must, if they're leaving the property of origin, must be travelling with a movement record. And you must hold that record for yourself for 5 years, or if you're going to Pony Club, the organisation must hold your record for 2 years. Animal welfare, fit to load. I have a few more slides on that, but a big part of my job is animal welfare. So I'm kind of like the RSPCA, but I generally deal with more livestock side of animals. So your cattle, your horses, your sheep, things like that. We also had a brands review last year. At the moment, still anything that is 100 kilos must be branded before leaving your property. So fit to load. So I have these little handy books. They're really good to go in your trucks or your cars. They have a lot of information on what can tell you what can be fit for travel and what is not. So on page 10, you'll get this wonderful checklist, and I'll go through it with you. So if you can be able to tick all of them off, your animal can travel. So if it can walk on its own on all 4 legs, yep, she's good. If it can see, so if it's blind in 1 eye, that's okay. Blind in 2 eyes, not okay. Strong enough to make the intended journey, so if we don't want to see emaciated animals on a truck for 12 hours. Can see well enough to walk, not blind in both eyes. It's not in late pregnancy, so if you know you got a cow that's going to pop anytime soon, probably best not to move her. And also to do with your time on and off water as well. So if you're unsure or any of this, you can always hop on the phone to me and I can walk you through it, or talk to your local veterinarian. Bit of time about your water requirements here. So generally most of us are transporting animals over 6 months old. So the max time they can have off water is 48 hours. This includes the time in the yards you were drafting if they're off water or before you were going to load them onto the truck. As they get younger and as they become pregnant or lactating, those hours decrease. You also can see here I've got some for sheep and goats as well. And if you want one of these books, I have them at the stand over there. Just feel free to come and take one. So a few photos here of examples of what are not fit to load. Happy to discuss these further with you if you have any questions. The first one there, horn in the head, very classic. Not fit to load. The reason is when she's on the truck and that horn is pressing into the face, it's causing pain and distress. So if you get an animal like that, tip her, bush her for another 2 weeks and then bring her back in if you want to sell her. That black bull at the top, busted pizzle. One I get quite regularly and I have a lot of questions about. So it's Tony and other agents' obligation and the Meatworks obligation to report these animals to me. I understand, I'm in the cattle industry myself. You get a busted pizzle bull, what am I going to do with them? Send them to the works. Unfortunately now we can't just do that, we have to make sure they're fit to load. So if you do get an animal with a busted pizzle, best thing to do is to contact your veterinarian and get them to travel with a veterinary certificate. In the industry, veterinarians are considered the absolute peak of animal welfare. They did the 6-year degree, so they know what they're talking about. If they say that's animals fit to load, I can't argue with that. And I think that's a horse's shoulder there, a nice infested wound, not fit to load. I've got another bull here, he's not looking the best. I would consider that not fit to load. So a little bit of a checklist here before going to sale or any other movement. You must have an RBE, so that's your registered biosecurity entity. Your animal must have a brand if it's over 100 kilos. Must be fitted with an NLIS tag. Tony and the Meatworks also have obligations to report animals to me that are not fitted with a NILS tag. Problems with not having NILS tag is you get an orange tag put in, that animal loses its lifetime traceability, which means it can't be sold overseas or anything like that. Must be fit to load, and you must have an approved movement record. I'm sure, Tony, there's other requirements at the sale yards for like LPA accreditation and stuff, but we don't generally look at that. These are the legal things that we look at. A little bit about what I want to talk to you is the our TSE program. I think I've got a flyer here somewhere. I have a couple of these brochures as well on my desk. So we have this program called Bucks for Brains. It literally means what it says. If you have an animal that is showing signs of what looks like mad cow's disease, give me a call. I'll come out, I'll euthanize the animal, and I'll take its brains, and you could get $300 for a cow or $100 for a sheep. So this is really good if you have an animal that's not fit to load, you can't send it anywhere, give me a call. It's $300 is $300. So the reason we have this program is so that it's a livestock and surety program with our overseas markets. So Australia is free of mad cow disease, so we need to be able to prove to other countries we don't have it. So anything that has signs or symptoms of mad cows, I'll come out, test it, and we can show that we still don't have this disease. We're a very unique country, an island country, so we're very good with our biosecurity and things like that. But if you have anything that might fit the program, just come and have a chat with me and we might be able to organise something there. That's all I have for you today. Obviously I can talk about my job for hours, but I won't bore you with all the details. But if you want to come have a chat or give me a call or send me an email, feel free to come and chat to me. I promise I don't bite. But yeah, if there's any questions in the audience, Tony and I can take some now.
Yeah, with the 3 yards, we are updating. We had a meeting with them last week there, but for live weight scales to be put in the 3 at the present moment, we've got to upgrade the yards itself. It's going to take a while, to do. Like they plan to do another 34 runs of selling pens. They plan to put more water yards in, but if you look at the photos at Nebo there, 120 selling pens, 40 odd plus water yards. With live weight scales, the cattle comes out of the pen, across the scales, and then from there they go through the scanner, and then they go into the buyer's pen, which is a water yard. 3 yards is just not up to that capacity just yet to have live weight scales. I think 3 yards got to be, like a all-weather setup before we put live weight scales, because in the wet season, mud, water, it wouldn't operate with the scales. But it is in the plan, but not in the, it's a fair way down the future. Our main part of 3 yards at the present moment is getting more water yards, more selling pens that's built up, so we can hold bigger yardings of cattle. Thanks, Paul. I'll bring the mic down.
Became quite popular after COVID and everything like that. If a farmer was going to try the option sale, options plus, what's the best cattle class or what you see is the most popular cattle class that a buyer would be on that platform compared to a normal sale yard?
Yeah. With Options Plus, it's suited for all types of cattle, but with Options Plus, you've got to really need a good even line of cattle to put up. Yeah, any breed, any sets, any class of cattle, Options Plus is good, but you need, to make it work good, you can put a body load of cattle on there, but you're only really targeting your local areas. If you had 2 or 3 decks where, fellow from New South Wales could buy them and get the freight down there quick, for cheaper, that's your best option. But yeah, Options Plus is a good system. It works well. It's been going for a long time, but in my belief, you've got to have a good even line of cattle for it. Yeah, like, we normally, if you sell them, to the feedlot, we're trying to get 2 or 3 decks together to put them, on the freight there. If you want us to custom feed your cattle for you, it's your cost to get them down to the feedlot, and then your cost to get them out of the feedlot to the abattoirs. We do. Put out contracts, we try and get a contract rate for you at the end of the, when the cattle go, but at the present moment, the market fluctuating a bit, but we can do that. Oh, right. I kind of think that your heavier cattle probably around about $6, $6.50 per head per week, per head per day to feed. So, like your 100-day jab, you're probably up around 600 odd bucks for feed. But it all depends, on the ratio of, some cattle feed well, some cattle, don't take to the feed and everything like that. So, that's just a rough figure. All good?
How are we doing for time?
Oh, well, you can do your song.
No one wants to hear me sing. Yes. Your biosecurity plan. So that's through your LPA accreditation. So I believe you do that annually when you renew your biosecurity register. Your LPA accreditation. Yeah. The brands. What association is that one? Sorry? Black Angus. If you got a specific breed, I'd suggest going that. But as the Queensland legal requirements, we still require brands over for every animal over 100 kilos. If you want to get a symbol brand, you must have a 3-piece brand. Only thing I tell everyone, if you're going to go get a symbol brand, the Queensland registered, you must have a dot on the right-hand corner. Are you meaning like if branding going to be mandatory? Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, it's just more paperwork. That's life these days, unfortunately. We did do a big brands review last year, and it hasn't come in yet, but it looks like branding's going to come compulsory. Not compulsory. Optional. If you want to brand, you can brand. If you don't want to brand, you don't have to. Personally, I think brands are a good thing for especially cattle theft and things like that. Anyone can pull a nils tag out and replace it. But it's no, not at all. Tony might. But brand is, it's on there. It's easier to prove that's your animal. They are getting into DNA testing though. I don't know how that works, but apparently you can DNA test now to find out if that's your animal, if it's stolen or something.
Just with your brands, you got to do your brand return yearly on the
Yes.
on your website, don't you,
Yep.
Emily?
You can just call me and I can do it for you as well. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You're definitely right. Yep. Mm. Yep. Yeah. Yep. No, you're completely right. I've had multiple phone calls from Beth at the sale yards, and someone's turned up and they registered to buy cattle. They didn't even have a pick number. They're like, "What's a pick number?" Yep. Yep. Yeah, and I'm only one person. That's why we rely on the public to report that to us. But I agree. Like if something happened and an incident, and I had to talk to you, we offer what's called a record of interview. So that's where we sit down and we go through and we ask these questions like, what's your knowledge of this, this, and this? So we take it all into consideration before we, give out the nasty fine. But the GBO came in to rule out that those particular people that do know it, but they'll just say, I didn't know it. Yeah.